I think a game changer was learning how robotic processing works and building bots.
Hmm.
Because what that does, it allows me there's 40,000 of us and we're all different. You could have the same tech stack as me and we probably do things differently.
100%.
And that's part of the struggle. And it's part of the struggle for insurtechs and technology companies to try to create a product that we're all going to use.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the VIP podcast. You're here, you've made it, you're arrived, and you're past the velvet ropes now, and you're hanging out with me and Rob, and I'm excited about it. And because I do have a fun guest today that we're going to have some fun conversations. And this guy's been to a lot of conferences. He's been in the business a while. He knows a lot of things that I didn't know, and so I'm probably hopefully going to learn a lot from here. Hopefully you do too. Rob, come on in here and let's talk to the audience. Hi, Rob. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Heath. How are you doing today?
Man, I am doing very, very well. Before we get too deep into things, I got to ask, because I feel like this might be a good question for you. What was your very first car?
Wow. First car that I bought was a Toyota Camry.
Okay. Do you have, what would you have liked to have been like your first car? Are you one of these car people? Are you a car guy?
I'm really not. I'm more
Really?
cars get me from A to B.
Okay.
I've learned more being in this business about cars, but
Yeah.
I'm not a big car. I mean, I drive a truck now and I love it. I don't think I'm ever going to leave the truck
Uh,
world. So,
I'm a truck guy myself. Okay.
yeah.
What's your truck right now?
Toyota Tacoma.
There you go. I love a good truck, man.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, I invited you to come in here. I've seen you. Obviously, you and I have been in a lot of conferences together, and I've seen you at a lot of these different conferences. What is the things that you get? Like, why do you see Rob? Why does Rob go to conferences? What is one of those things that for you stands out about conferences? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, if you go to one conference, you've been to them all." But
Mhm.
obviously, you and I can disagree with that probably. But what are some of those things that you get out of that the most?
It's interesting you asked the question when I saw the email come through because I wrote an article with rough notes because it was a very similar question.
Yeah.
And yes, some of the conferences, it's the same thing over and over and over again. But what I get out of it is relationships. I'm
Yeah.
able to meet people bigger, smarter than I am, and I can start having those side conversations. Certainly, when there was a lot of conferences with all the vendors, you get to meet all of them, talk to them about what they're doing, see if it makes sense for your agency. But it really is about the relationships you build, the people you get a chance to meet. Things have spun off of those conferences, like masterminds, and you get
Yeah.
someone's cell phone. You got a question, you can give them a call. I think this industry, it's the more people you have around you who are smarter than you are and bigger than you are, the quicker you can grow and the quicker because you're making less mistakes. You're not
Yeah.
making, I call them dumb decisions. So I've been very fortunate. I'm in some rooms I honestly should not be in, but I've been invited. So I listen, I learn. And people are willing to help. If you're in the right crowd in this industry, everyone's willing to help you.
Exactly.
So it's a beautiful thing.
I feel like anytime I'm in the room, I'm not the smartest person either. So I mean,
I don't have a problem not being the smartest person in the room. So you just got to make sure you surround yourself with the correct people.
That's
That's what it comes
hilarious.
to.
Yeah, exactly. And so, out of some of that, it's some of the niches that you've gotten into. Has that been from that? You know, f-
The Yeah,
yeah,
the real estate niche was I started going to real estate meetups. I found the app Meetup and kind of explored around it and started seeing these things pop up. So I just started going. And honestly, for the first year, I kept my mouth shut. I just
yeah,
listened to people and got to know their families and their kids. And, because I think insurance agents go to those networking events and start flipping cards and asking for deck pages and all that. And that doesn't work, at least not long term. So that's how we built that one up. And we're actually right now starting to build some
yeah.
other niches. I mean, I'm a generalist. I mean, I can talk about niches, but we're still trying to become that real niche insurance agency right now. So
So, what inspired you to focus on real estate investment space, and how has that niche, approach kind of impacted your agency? I know you said you're a generalist, but obviously having a niche that specific in something like that, it's obviously have to have an impact on your book.
Yeah. Oh, what it does is I started to realize that many insurance agencies don't understand what the real estate investor's doing. They people will call an agency and say, "Hey, I'm buying a house." Well, great, but we ask about six more questions after that. Is it vacant? Are you renovating it? What are you doing? And I started to see that these people were either not insured correctly, severely underinsured, didn't really know why I was doing certain things. And I think the property market, and it's getting a lot worse. It's so easy to manipulate it. And if you get people that are just focused on price, I don't play that game.
Yeah.
I could just make it cheaper, but I'm not doing my job. So as you do more and more, I mean, I have clients now that literally just email me an address and I know exactly what to do. I have, they use a credit card with the last four digits of this, or, and I just sit there and just bind. I send them the quote because I feel I have an obligation to do it, and they don't care. They're like, yeah, great, pay it in full, pay it in full. I'm closing tomorrow, pay it in full. And so if you build up that kind of trust, which takes a couple of years to do that, it's a great business. The problem is if they're fixing flippers, they keep canceling policies on you. You got to keep going. But I found that, a lot of them become landlords. A lot of them start doing commercial, and I've grown with a lot of them. I mean, most of the people I met, it was their first fix and flip, and now they do 20 a year, 30 a year. So that's where we're at.
Do you get involved in the builder's risk aspect of it? And,
Yep.
and from that part of it, or you only come in if they're from the flipping, or it's already an established property, or, it's already an income property, they just happen to be buying, or all the above?
All the above. Yeah. We'll do builder's risk, ground up construction. We'll do structural renovations. We'll do all of that. Because once you get in that market, a lot of the real estate investors start doing other things based on the market.
Yep.
And so maybe they don't want tenants. They're just going to do a renovation and flip it. Maybe they want to do ground up construction. So we can do all that, and we have all the markets to do it for them. So it's about educating them and telling them what they need and what they don't need. And I'm a big liability guy because that's their biggest risk, in my opinion.
Which is interesting to me that you've got a property-driven space, and the liability piece of it is such a big part for you.
Oh, huge. I mean, I've seen, that's it. I'm in New York, so let's start there.
Yeah.
We're the most litigious state, maybe other than California. And we have these massive lawsuits, and we have nuclear verdicts, and we have laws that don't help what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we only write $1 million, and then we start putting umbrellas after the second property. If pipes break, great. If the house burns to the ground, great. We can fix all that. But liability is where people go bankrupt. It's that simple.
And so that's got to be part of like a process for you, in like your quoting process. Not the same thing with everybody. It's a little bit more customized. Can you pull the curtain back a little bit and share a little bit about, your process for customizing these solutions and whatnot? Is it, something that you feel comfortable sharing a little bit of that with us? Like what your process looks like?
Yeah, I mean, what we do is our initial process is I'm a big believer in let's get the data into the agency so we know what we're doing. Let's get, basic demographic data. After that, we make a phone call and we kind of walk the client through their options, walk the client through how we're going to insure the property. And then we do video quotes to walk them through the quotes that they get. So they're making decisions on what they want to do and how they want to do it. Their really only decision with me is what deductible. Everything else I think is my responsibility. And I'm never going to underinsure a property. I don't play that ACV co-insurance game. It's a dangerous game to play. And these clients, unlike maybe some other clients that I may have in my book, these clients keep coming back. They keep coming back with more properties, more this, and that's the way it should work.
When you talk about, obviously with property insurance, and you're talking about the building values and whatnot, that's going to continue to increase, and that's going to continue to grow. And there's no way of controlling some of that because of building costs and because of cost of, this or that, or labor cost or whatever it might be. I imagine in New York, it's even worse than it might be here in Arkansas where I'm at, or in Denver or wherever else. But when you're talking about that kind of thing, there's got to be a lot of education that goes into that too with some of your clients to help them understand why last year this property they looked at was this price. Now you're looking at the same square footage and the same building materials, and it is now almost double what it was, or even, whatever it might be.
Oh yeah. And we're seeing a lot of that right now. I mean, we have a lot of our building costs skyrocketed. The labor costs are going up. So we have to have an education every year of why did my policy go up 40%? I don't
Yeah.
understand. And we do. And what we start doing is we can start using the deductible to reduce it a little bit, but we have standards. We will not go below. I will not, start dropping coverage A. I will not flip it to ACV,
Sure.
make the roof ACV and all that. I mean, there's a lot of ways to manipulate these quotes, and we just don't do it. And we create loyalty with our customers that they know we're doing it right. I preach umbrellas. I preach liability. I mean, everything I write has $1 million in it. I don't write $500,000 or 300,000. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Going back to, bring this full circle back to what we talked about earlier with going to these conferences and getting to know some of these people at these conferences and whatnot. You're probably introduced to a lot of different technology pieces and a lot of things like that, even though, you don't necessarily want to focus so much on price, or you don't want to focus on this or that. But in order to round out your offerings and be able to customize that to an enjoyable experience for them, and they keep coming back, what does that piece look like for you? What role does technology play in your agency? And, what are some of the pieces you can, open up a little bit to us? I know one of those might be PL rating and whatnot, but could you talk a little bit about some of that?
Oh yeah, we are technology driven. I'm a big believer in pushing down. I believe 80 to 90% of what we do every day is unlicensed work.
Sure
and
is.
Most agencies have their, higher paid licensed account managers, producers doing data entry and all that. So we use VAs, we use Agency Zoom. That's automation for me. We have some bots running on our management system in Agency Zoom. And the bots I call it mindless mouse clicks that we all have to do every day. Well, why do you not have a bot? Now bring in AI and teach your bot to get better. So what I've built a platform where we have a single point of entry of all data coming in, and we only enter it once, and then it moves where it needs to move to. And now I bring the licensed team in once they're ready to start having coverage conversations with the client. And if you break up your processes into stages, you can have someone else do that stage. It doesn't have to be one person from the beginning of the stage to the end of the process. And we like I said, we leverage VAs. I love Agency Zoom. Just creating emails to go out to people, texts to go out to people. Hey, I sent you a quote. What's going on? Call me back.
Love that. And so, how many? If you don't mind me asking, I've seen such a funny wide range of this. How many buckets do you have? How many stages do you have set up in your Zoom, if you don't mind me asking? Do you know what your journey, how many is there on that journey?
In the sales process, we have 5 stages.
Okay.
In our true prospecting, my son built basically a prospecting pipeline that has about 8 stages in it.
Okay. I've seen some people with like 20 and 18 different stages and whatnot. I'm like, man, that's a lot.
At some point, I have friends that have the same thing. And at some point, I always tell people, because a lot of people will come to me and ask about CRMs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, here's what I use. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
You can complicate it, and that's fine, but start simple.
And that's
and
fine.
Then, and they do. And, now you start bringing in tags, you start bringing in, there's a lot that now you have Zapier. Now, there's a lot of things, but most agencies, I think, just need a pipeline, just a sales pipeline or a cross-sell pipeline. I mean, onboarding, renewal pipeline. So we have all those, and even our renewal pipeline, I think, is only like 9 different stages. It starts at day 60, and it's a bunch of emails. Honestly, it says, "Hey, your policy is renewing. Got any questions? Here's a link to schedule time." But you automate the whole thing, and I also tell people too. Typically, an agency that has nothing. Well, if you send out a couple emails a week, you're now doing more than you were doing the week prior.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, I know, coming back to not selling on the price thing, but I'm interested to hear, being a PL customer, and using a rating software, obviously you're not selling on price, but there's a huge added value to having that rater, in your agency. Whether you sell off that price or not, I would love for the audience to hear from you of someone who's admittedly over and over and over, we don't sell on just price, but the rater is such a key factor for your agency. Tell me a little bit about the reasoning why you use it, and debunk some of the theories like why people don't use it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, the rater works great if the carriers are willing to play. So we've started seeing in New York last year, the carriers were giving back pricing that was incorrect. They were blocking us from doing what we tried to do because they don't like to be, spreadsheeted either.
Right.
And that's how they controlled the flow coming into the insurance company. But again, I talked about stages. You can have a non-licensed person take data and bring it all the way to PL Rater, get a price, send that to an account manager who knows the account, and you can determine just based off the pricing. Like, you haven't run reports yet, but you know, is it
Sure.
clean? Is it not clean? But it narrows down, maybe you have 8 or 9 carriers on the Rater, but you kind of know going in where it's going to end up. But if you end up with 2 or 3, then you go with those 2 or 3, and it saved you so much time. I've never understood why someone would want to manually rekey the same information into 8 different portals.
Exactly.
I've never. Or here, I think this is even a bigger trap, and this is, and yet people have a lot more experience than I do, but you get the information from the client. And they go, oh yeah, this is Progressive, this is Travelers.
They already go ahead and predetermine where it's going before they even check.
And they jump in the portal and they do the quote, and now they haven't really compared, right? They haven't looked at other possibilities. And I think honestly, in today's market, where these, at least I'm speaking basically New York to the Northeast, these auto carriers, most of them have shut down.
Yeah.
But the ones that are still open, when they come back to the game, their underwriting is going to be completely different than it was 6 months ago. So we can all talk about, well, I know Progressive loves this and Travelers loves this, but they might not anymore.
Sure.
Their underwriting is going to, all those carriers right now are waiting for Department of Insurance to approve all their new products. And they're going to be completely different because they had such a dumpster fire the last 2 years that you got to run it through the Rater and see, hey, wow, look, this one worked. Holy smokes.
I kind of want to go back to something you said earlier about how in New York you've got a lot of legislative things that determine where you can and can't go with your insurance. How do you keep on top of that? Like, what's your go-to to keep on top of what's going on, from the legislation side?
I'm part of the Big I. So that's a huge resource. I'm actually on the Big I board. So that's a huge resource for me. But even prior to being on the board, the Big I puts out a lot of, in every state. I'll speak, I know New York, but that's their big role, is their legislative activity, talking to the policymakers, talking to people that are making these decisions. For example, we had a process called CARCO in New York, which was ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Been around since the 70s, and the Big I finally got rid of it. It was, we had to take pictures of a car after we insured it, if it was 7 years or newer. And if we didn't do it within 14 days, the client lost comp and collision coverage on their policy.
Wow.
And there was no reason for it. There was
Yeah.
absolutely no reason for it. And we had clients that lost comp and collision and got into accidents, of course. And then you play that game. And it's, so, that's really where you learn all that's kind of going on and all the stuff we're trying to change.
And, that being said, also, as we continue on this train of that kind of in New York and some of the challenges you've seen there, going back to your niche in real estate, I know you're in other niches, but we've already brought this one up. But, what are some other trends or some other things that you're seeing within, whether it's investment properties or just properties in general, that our audience might be able to look out for or get excited about, or maybe something that you're seeing that's interesting to you when it comes to those?
Yeah, one of the biggest problems in New York is the amount of legislation that protects tenants. It's very hard to evict someone in New York. So part of the problem is you get someone comes in, they don't pay their bills. It could take up to a year to evict someone. So now you have, you're not fully occupied. You don't have a paying tenant in there. So a lot of people have left New York, gone to other states. A lot of people, landlords, or the landlord clients I have, they call it cash for keys. They literally go to the tenant and say, okay, here's $5,000, give me the keys and sign this document, just to get them out so they can bring another tenant. Because meanwhile, when the tenant's in it,
Otherwise, they're going to sit there for 12 months with nobody there, or somebody there but not paying.
Yeah, and it costs a lot of money. I mean, you got to get an attorney. We need an attorney for everything in New York. Call it the Attorney Full Employment Act, but and it just costs a lot of money. And not to mention, now you're not focused on what you're doing. You're focused on trying to get rid of a tenant who's not paying their rent.
Right.
Most states, a couple months, you're done. You can throw them out. In New York, it takes forever. So, a lot of people have gone to fix and flips because they don't need a tenant. Right? They're just fixing it up. There's quite a bit of inventory of the fix and flip variety in New York. There's a lot of towns that have homes that have been abandoned, things like that. But a lot of it just adjusts their business model.
What I find fascinating about New York is, a state like that, it's such a vast difference from upstate New York or anywhere else outside of New York City. And so I wonder how much of your business is actually in New York City versus everywhere else.
I'm everywhere else. So my view is Long Island is one market.
Sure.
Right. That has hurricanes. That has the highest point's 113 feet. Think about that. Crazy. The 5 boroughs of Manhattan, right. 5 boroughs of New York. And then I'm in the Hudson Valley. And then you have the Hudson. But even there's a difference between the Hudson Valley and let's call it, upstate New York.
And the price, Schenectady and Albany and Johnstown and
even further north. Now go Rochester, Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, the average premium up there is literally half what it is in the Hudson Valley, which is half
wild. You don't have that in many states, at least not in Arkansas and Denver and some of these other places. That's got to be interesting for you as an agent working in New York to try to balance some of that and explain some of those challenges.
Yep. I mean, we do have some clients in Manhattan, in the 5 boroughs. We have a couple clients in Long Island. But, right now in Long Island, there's no way to write a home. Where my homes, it's wide open because, again, we don't have, when you talk Hudson Valley and North, we have one deductible on our homeowners policies. Think about that. Most states don't have that because they have wind deductible, hail deductible, named storm. Blah, blah, blah.
I have 3 different ones.
We have one. Yeah. Now, this is talking the Hudson Valley and North.
Sure.
You go to Long Island, they will have those. So it usually blows other agencies away when I talk to them. And they're like, so how do you handle your wind deductible? I'm like, we don't have that. We have one deductible, covers everything.
Do y'all do parametric insurance there then? Or are you involved in any of that yet?
Nope. Okay. I've heard of it. I've talked to people that do it, but no, I've not seen it in New York. And maybe I'm missing it, but I have not seen that.
I kind of want to go back to a point that you made too about your clientele are very much like the building side of it, the flippers, the landlords. Is there any kind of insurance out there for your situation where you have that issue of a squatter being in the home for a year? Is there any coverages that people can get because of that? Have you found creative ways around that?
I have not found anything. I do get asked that. I think I've been asked that probably by every one of my clients because they all have had one.
Sure.
And there isn't. I mean, other than the damage they do, we'll fix the damage. But as far as getting them out, there's nothing.
And you can't trigger like a loss of income or business income claim or anything. You can't do anything like that because.
No, because the loss of income is about you got to have a claim, right? Mm-hmm. And just because you have a squatter, that's not a claim. Right. So that's where you kind of lose it. Because I've been asked that exact question, Heath. People say, well, I have, you told me loss of rental income and I'm not getting my rental income. It's the same conversation we had in COVID with the companies and the businesses that wanted to trigger the business income because they were shut down.
It's almost like they want you, the insurance companies want you to call Dog the Bounty Hunter or somebody to come in there and regulate things the old school way a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why the cash for keys. I remember when my client like 4 years ago told me what he did. He literally walked up to the house with $5,000 and said, "Hey, listen, here's $5,000. Sign this legal document. You need to be out in a week." They signed the document. So now he had a legal document that said they will leave in a week. And those tenants left with $5,000 and he got a new tenant in there. And
that is crazy. Okay. So again, I could get into all that for a long, long time, but again, we don't have a long, long time yet. So I did want to get into, as far as, you're talking about you're very technological. God, sorry. I work for a technology company. I can't say it. Technological.
It's hard to say it.
Jeez. All right, forgive me, guys. I'm from Arkansas, but an agency driven by technology. So outside of, we talked about your CRM. You've talked about, we've talked about Raiders a little bit. Is there any one game changer piece of technology over the last couple of years, whether you found it at a conference or you just stumbled upon it, that maybe, you might be able to share a little bit with? You don't necessarily the name, you just something that really, I know you're a sharer, so it doesn't matter, but anything that you found that you just game changer for you?
Yeah, I think a game changer was learning how robotic processing works and building bots. Because what that does, it allows me there's 40,000 of us and we're all different. You could have the same tech stack as me and we probably do things differently.
100%.
And that's part of the struggle. And it's part of the struggle for insurtechs and technology companies to try to create a product that we're all going to use. So with bots, you now can build a customized bot that does something in your agency that you don't want a human doing, and it does it over and over and over again. And as you're scaling, that scale is, if a bot has to do 10 transactions or has to do 100, it doesn't matter. It's still going to do it.
Right.
It might take it a little bit longer, but what I tried to do was I'm trying to build a platform I can scale off of to do acquisitions. And I believe I can probably double, and I don't think I'll have to add a whole lot more people. I might need one more person, but I can double and only increase my payroll by 10 or 20%. Because as you know, in this industry, the average agency is 65% of their gross revenues is payroll.
Oh yeah, that's your largest expense is your people.
Yeah, huge. So if you can reduce that, right, and you can free your people up to cross-sell, free your people up to generate revenue, as opposed to them doing a $100 boat quote or
exactly
entering data into into Progressive or American Modern or something like that. I mean, my view is I want to bring information into the agency as quickly as possible. My VAs are responsible to make sure everything's completed. We do leverage Canopy Connect, which is a great system.
I'm a big fan of Canopy Connect. A lot of people know that, so
I
love it.
I love it. If you do personal lines and you maybe if you do 2 or 3 a month, it pays for itself because
100%.
you get all the information. What we found, Heath, which was really interesting, I didn't do this on purpose, is it also pushes away the tire kickers, the price shoppers that I don't want.
Oh, that's because they're not going to click on the link and fill out the information. They're not going to do all that. Yeah,
they're not going to do all that. They just,
or they're going to be the excuse of I don't know my login. Okay, well then you don't want to work with Rob.
Yeah, and we don't, we don't. If you can't fill out a Canopy, we're not going to work with you. Now, do we have exceptions to that rule?
Well,
yes.
Of course. Yeah.
75-year-old grandmother, that's someone's grandmother. I'm not making money on your grandmother. I will do whatever I can to help her. But you're a 32-year-old and you sit there and tell me, and I'm like, no, don't start sending me deck pages and
right.
No. And as you know, once you get the Canopy, here's the best part. Once you get the Canopy, you now know what their coverages are. So
100%. You got a sneak under the hood of everything.
And we have claims.
Yep.
And we have anything else. And so we'll call them and say, hey, listen, you have state minimums. We don't write this. We are going to be higher than this. This is how we write it. And most of those people say, oh, no, I'm just looking for the cheapest insurance. Thank you. So what did I spend there? Maybe 2 minutes talking to someone
100%.
And I'm done.
And then on the other side of that with Canopy, and again, I don't want to make this about Canopy, but you got a driver's list and matched up with that claim. You can say, hey, you got Tom over here who's had 13, incidents over the last 3 years. Yeah. It's time to put him in the passenger seat or, get rid of Tom a little bit. Something like there's just a lot you could use. I love Canopy. So again, Orange partner of ours, so I could talk about them without getting in too much trouble. But I love working with that. I just wanted to kind of get a peek under the hood of what your tech stack looked like and to hear from you what some of those game changer things were. And the last question I would ask you as someone who's, I've been in this industry 20 plus years. I know you've been in it for quite some time. What is some other advice or some advice you could give to our listener right now, whether it's building a niche or, building their tech stack or going to conferences, getting involved with the Big I or PIA or whatever it might be, what's one last piece of Rob Bowen advice that you could give out there?
I I get on my soapbox probably every day and I talk about data audit.
Okay.
You got to make sure in your management system you have data that is correct and you have a process around it, in front of it, behind it that keeps it correct. It is amazing to me how many people their data is just awful. Mine was awful, right? I learned this lesson the hard way. And if your data is bad, now you start plugging in all these other systems. So my data, let's say, I use Hawksoft, but the data in Hawksoft is shitty. Well, it's going to be crappy in Agency Zoom. It's going to be crappy in Donna. It's going to be crap. And my bot's not going to be able to do what it needs to do because it can't find the data. So it stops. It's not a human. So you've got to have a central depository, which is your management system. And I think every agency you have to have a CRM. Don't talk to me about price and this and just pay it. Just you need a CRM to do automation. It frees you up to get what you're doing. You can scale off it, but your data's got to be good. You need a process around how you put data into any system. How do you audit it? We have a whole data audit process for new business, for E&S renewals. I acquired a paper-based agency 14 months ago, 100% paper, no
Wow.
AMS, nothing. And we had a data audit process around everything. We did initial downloads. We got the Excel spreadsheet. We did it. My Candela, who's in my office, who lives in Argentina, did this. And so in 8 months, we had an entire book of business, a little over $2 million, fully audited on my management system.
That's amazing. You're able to take a prehistoric agency like that and bring them into this century. And especially knowing that you bought that in 2023 or whatever it might have been. That's crazy to know that there's still agencies that are fully.
Heath,
Go ahead.
I believe 20% of the 40,000 are 100% paper.
Really?
And I throw it out there because there's a lot of very rural towns. This
Sure.
agency was well run, high profit margins.
Sure.
Didn't need to grow. I mean, how many of those do we know? Those Main Street, and they're great businesses, but you can't scale on paper.
And I agree. And again, there is some outliers, and I'm in Arkansas, so there's still a lot of people that don't even know how to turn a computer on, where I'm at.
Thank you.
But at the same time, they're still able to be profitable. So to see you able to bring that into your fold and help them out, that's awesome. Brother, I could sit here and talk to you forever. It's been long overdue. I followed your career. We've been in the same circles for a long time. And I finally get to talk to you. I had to schedule you in a podcast to do it, but now that we're connected, we can exchange friendship bracelets and be buddies and all the good stuff. So
would love to, Heath. Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing your interest, your expertise, and being willing to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk to us about how you did some of the things you did. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Heath. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Chad. You guys have a great day.
Will do. And audience, thank you so much for being here. I know you got a lot. You may have to hit that rewind button a few more times and take those notes back down because Rob crushed it on this one. Make sure that you keep following, keep paying attention. We got a whole season full of great guests coming up. And guys, if you enjoyed yourself, accelerate. Look forward to the next one. Go ahead and get signed up. We're going to be in some really cool places coming up. And we got a lot going on at Vertafore. So make sure that you keep your finger on the pulse there. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.